Grace, I'm going to share chapter 5 from the Gospel according to Mark with you. Before I begin, if you could take a moment to like the video, I'd really appreciate it, because that means more people get to see, because that's how the algorithm works. I'd love more people to hear the word of God. Anyway, let's jump in. And they came over unto the other side of the sea, into the country of the Gadarenes. And when he was come out of the ship, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among the tombs, and no man could bind him, no, not with chains, because that he had been often bound with fetters and chains, and the chains had been plucked asunder by him, and the fetters broken in pieces, neither could any man tame him. And always, night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying and cutting himself with stones. But when he saw Jesus afar off, he ran and worshipped him, and cried with a loud voice, and said, What have I to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of the Most High God? I adjure thee by God that thou torment me not. For he said unto him, Come out of the man, thou unclean spirit. And he asked him, What is thy name? And he answered, saying, My name is Legion, for we are many. And he besought him much that he would not send them away out of the country. Now there were there nigh unto the mountains a great herd of swine feeding. And all the devils besought him, saying, Send us into the swine, that we may enter into them. And forthwith Jesus gave them leave, and the unclean spirits went out and entered into the swine, and the herd ran violently down a steep place into the sea. There were about 2,000, and were choked in the sea. And they that had fed the swine fled and told it in the city and in the country, and they went out to see what it was that was done. And they come to Jesus and see him that was possessed with the devils and had the legions, sitting and clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. And they that saw it told them how it befell to him that was possessed with the devils, and also concerning the swine. And they began to pray him to depart out of their coasts. And when he was come into the ship, he that had been possessed with the devil prayed him that he might be with him. Howbeit Jesus suffered him not, but said unto him, Go home to thy friends, and tell them how great things the Lord hath done for thee, and hath had compassion on thee. And he departed and began to publish in Decapolis how great things Jesus had done for him, and all men did marvel. And when Jesus was passed over again by ship unto the other side, much people gathered unto him, and he was nigh unto the sea. And behold, there cometh one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name, and when he saw him, he fell at his feet, and besought him greatly, saying, My little daughter lieth at the point of death. I pray thee, come and lay thy hands on her, that she may be healed, and she shall live. And Jesus went with him, and much people followed him and thronged him. And a certain woman, which had an issue of blood 12 years, and had suffered many things of many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was nothing bettered, but rather grew worse, when she had heard of Jesus, came in the press behind, and touched his garment. For she said, If I may touch but his clothes, I shall be whole. And straightway the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of that plague. And Jesus, immediately knowing in himself that virtue had gone out of him, turned him about in the press and said, Who touched my clothes? And his disciples said unto him, Thou seest the multitude thronging thee, and sayest thou, Who touched me? And he looked round about to see her that had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what was done in her, came and fell down before him and told him all the truth. And he said unto her, Daughter, thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace, and be whole of thy plague. While he yet spake, there came from the ruler of the synagogue's house certain which said, Thy daughter is dead. Why troublest thou the master any further? As soon as Jesus heard the word that was spoken, he saith unto the ruler of the synagogue, Be not afraid, only believe. And he suffered no man to follow him, save Peter and James and John the brother of James. And he cometh to the house of the ruler of the synagogue, and seeth the tumult, and them that wept and wailed greatly. And when he was come in, he saith unto them, Why make ye this ado, and weep? The damsel is not dead, but sleepeth. And they laughed him to scorn. But when he had put them all out, he taketh the father and the mother of the damsel, and them that were with him, and entereth in where the damsel was laid. And he took the damsel by the hand, and said unto her, Talitha cumi, which is being interpreted, Damsel, I say unto thee, arise. And straightway the damsel arose and walked, for she was the age of 12 years, and they were astonished with a great astonishment. And he charged them straitly that no man should know it, and commanded that something should be given her to eat. Wow. I've been trying to highlight from the beginning of this gospel, with my introduction to Mark's gospel, the difference between Matthew and Mark. And as a summary, Matthew's gospel goes out to a Jewish audience. He's very much on a mission to very precisely and accurately explain how Jesus fulfills Jewish prophecy. That's the focus of his gospel. So I guess the vast amount of words that he uses in his gospel are directed at that cause. Mark, however, is on a different mission. He's on a mission to proclaim and testify Christ to a Gentile audience that wouldn't actually fully understand or appreciate those Jewish prophecies. Instead, Mark wants to give the Gentiles all of the information that they crave, and the Gentiles are really interested about the miracle worker. To the Gentiles, it is the fact that Jesus performs these awe-inspiring miracles that's declaration to them that Jesus is God. That alongside the hugest of huge miracles, which is Jesus's resurrection in the flesh from dead after crucifixion. Now remember, John Mark, the author of this gospel, wasn't a disciple. He wasn't an eyewitness personally to these miracles, but instead he had the next best thing. John Mark was a student of Peter, and in fact worked as his translator. So he knew these stories intimately, and he knew Peter intimately. And can you imagine the conversations that they would have had? Peter would have shared as much of the story as he could, and can you imagine if you were were a faithful believer that Christ was God and the Messiah, wouldn't you just pull every last drop of detail that you could from Peter? Well, that's what John Mark did, clearly. So here in John Mark's gospel, we get a lot more information than we had in Matthew's gospel. Matthew's gospel gives an adequate telling of the miracles, but here we have lots of additional information. For example, the name of the demon. And in verse 9, and he asked him, What is thy name? And he answered, saying, My name is Legion, for we are many. Oh, spine chilling. Legion. Imagine a Roman legion, all of those, many soldiers. That's how many demons this poor man from the tombs had been possessed by. Not a problem for Jesus, however. But it's very interesting how the people of this region react. You think they'd be really happy to get rid of all these demons, but you know, the demons were profitable to them. I'll leave it there, but I will add my written commentary to the blog, which is hosted on the Circular Grace website. So if you get a moment, go over there and have a look. It'll give you lots and lots of extra information on these verses. What I like to do is I call it my comment on commentary. So I go through a number of respected commentaries and just walk you through those commentaries, adding links so that you can either just take the snippets that I provide or go and dive into that full commentary. I've also got a few other things on the website and Bible Bites, and I'm personally studying Genesis currently, and I'm trying to document that. It's going pretty slowly. I think I'm up to lesson 4. So what I'm doing is I'm documenting verse by verse my understanding of Genesis. You're quite welcome to join in and jump in. I value comments and discussion on that to help me. I'm not an expert like you. I am a student of Jesus Christ, and I'm still trying to piece it all together and learn what I can from this wonderful, life-transforming word of God. Until next time, bye-bye.